Responses engine 5, engine 3, engine 1, ladder 3, ladder 2, rescue 1. We've got full showing. Division 1, you're on location, box 23, reporting smoke show on 727.
Welcome to JobTlks podcast. Our goal is to facilitate knowledge sharing. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests on the show belong solely to the people expressing them. We do not represent the departments, cities, or towns we work for. Hey guys, you might notice that we have a missing member of the podcast here. Our friend Beryl is currently in the hospital with his wife. Everything is good and happy, but he is about to welcome his first child into the world. So first and foremost, big congratulations.
Yeah, big congratulations in order.
In order. And while he's congratulating it, his wife is doing all the hard work. So we love you. We hope everything is going well. We have decided to take this time to do a tactical pause in the show. We have some events coming up that we're trying to plan for. Obviously, we have a brand new member of JobTlks being welcomed into the world. So we're going to take a break for a couple of weeks while we put that stuff together. In the meantime, here is episode number 20, a highlight reel. See you guys in a couple weeks.
JobTlks out.
We have hits from...
currently have hits from Russia, Belarus, North Korea, and a few other authoritarian states and the United States.
So multinational. That's it.
And Canada.
On a serious note, welcome to the show. This is obviously our first episode, so we're probably going to be really awkward and have no idea what we're doing. So we're going to kind of wash that away with some booze and hopefully get through the show.
One of the big things at the end of the day is everyone's, especially as a new member, like you have to like just be okay with the fact that you're going to make plenty of mistakes, and that's fine. And like people are going to understand that at least they should understand you're going to make mistakes. But it's your attitude. Like, do you take ownership of the fact that you made a mistake and try and correct it? Like, that's where people are going to build that trust in you as an individual. Right. Like, it's okay to make mistakes. Everyone here is going to make mistakes, and we're going to make mistakes throughout our career. But are you willing to take ownership of it and identify it and then chart a path towards a solution? Mm-hmm. And then can you be humble enough to, like Will just did, like, share that with the group so other people don't make the same mistake as you. So I'll share some of the comments I got. See, there's some really good ones. So this is from a ladder company lieutenant. He said, he gave me two things, and I thought both were very good. He said, be the first to volunteer for an activity during a training exercise and do as many reps as you can. Make sure that it's them that tell you to stop. It shows you're serious about perfecting your craft and eager to learn. And two, he said, if someone wants to show you a task or a tool that you've already seen, don't tell them that you've already seen it. Let them show it to you again. More than likely, you'll get information and understanding from that second rep that you might not have had the first time. You also won't alienate senior members who are taking the initiative and caring enough to show you the job.
I think that's a great one. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, my go-to tool is my ads right here. This bad boy. So that's a building records ads. So a little background about that. My old man owned a demo company, and so I mean I've had these, and then I've demoed the inside of 10 houses, and including some of my own house, right? So I've just gotten really effective at swinging one of these, and it's really good for overhaul. There's a lot of things that it is suited for and a lot of things that it's not suited for. We'll get back into that in a minute. Before that, though, I'm going to get into Barry's typical loadout.
I see a pair of really large calves in that.
I didn't know. I must have missed
in that group of photos.
That's my calves.
I'm extremely interested.
That's my calves.
In those giant calves.
Yeah. So as you can see, a typical loadout, depending on the call, kind of really dictates what I have in my pockets. Mm-hmm. But I normally carry like 18s, 16s, 18s, and 20s. I like to use my 20s a lot. Syringes. So I carry a whole load out of those with some tags, extra tegaderms. Those come in handy.
Yep.
Monitor on my back. Depending on the call, like if it's a full box assignment, I'll grab our oxygen, an airway bag and throw that on my back. Monitor on the side. And then if it's like multiple alarms, I'll also grab the spare medication box because you never know how many patients you're gonna have.
Dude,
Yeah,
that's
which
a good
you know,
call.
people don't realize. Like you see those pictures of like the guys with the various, like an engine company guy has like this weighs 45 pounds. Like now the can man, like this weighs 75 pounds. Like, yeah, try all your EMS bags. Heavy and cumbersome, and they swing. So not only do you have to have
getting through fire like
Yeah.
that is hard.
not only to get to the patient, you have to have dexterity. The bags are swinging, so you have to have good core strength,
Low visibility.
low visibility, and trying to do like get your 12 lead placed appropriately in low visibility environment.
Yeah.
It takes time.
I think so. I think when you say like being good at failure, it's an important distinction is like you're not going out and failing to learn from failure. Being good at failure means that when you fail, which is inevitable, that you have the mindset to learn from it, right? So it's not like we want you to be good at failing, go out and fail, but when you do fail, figure out what happened, why it happened, take that lesson from it, bring it back, learn from it, and hopefully it's on a, we talked about where hopefully it's on a call that has no like negative impact to the outcome of that call. But even if it does, it's all the more important that you actually be self-reflective and learn from it.
Yeah, and I think there's some calls, I think some of the calls that are the most important, at least the most important to me, especially when you get really good at something and you're operating at a high level. Like I am my own biggest critic. The calls that I think are the most important is where the only person that knows you fucked up is you, right?
Yeah.
Where everyone else is like, hey,
Absolutely.
good job, bro, on that call. You did great. Like, great patient care, great job on this extrication, great whatever. But you did something that you could do better at. And those are the calls where it's the most important to take ownership because you're the only person holding yourself accountable and you need to make a choice. Like, I could let it slide and take the credit for this, and like my internal monologue is like, yeah, Barry, you did a great fucking job. Like, fucking pat yourself on the back. Or you can be like, you know what? Like, at the end of the day, like, I know I did something that I could do better, and I need to implement a solution, find a way, and that happens to me all the time. You know
Kind of
what I
like that, what you're doing when people are watching versus what you're doing when people aren't. And
mean?
and I also think like failure is like people hear the term and they're like turned off by it. Failure sounds like really big, but failure isn't necessarily like you're saying like you actually like failed and fucked something up, but just the like, hey, I did this and it worked out, but I could have also done this and maybe it would have worked out better.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like, you guys are all some of my best friends. I want all of you to fail in life.
Well,
Thanks.
Yeah,
Barry.
literally and
Barry.
figuratively.
We're going to do a call-out segment, and it'll explain a few things. One, my tardiness today, and two, why I don't have sneakers, and I have these Jesus flip-flops on. So anyways, I just wanted to call out Gio and Andy and say thank you for relieving me
On time.
not early.
Oh.
Yeah, so today, hate to talk about it, but early relief. It's an important one, guys.
Listen, if you say you're going to be there,
Just got to be there. But,
The flops also have an ulterior benefit based on our
Right.
viewership.
yeah.
Just
Correct.
random fact for our viewers. Episode 6 got a weirdly high number of views on YouTube. Like, not that we're not awesome in the number
It's not
one
'cause I led the
podcast,
episode.
and it's not because Barry's attractive and good at what he does. But in viewing the analytics for our almost 1,000 views in the course of a few days, we found that under the search terms where people found our podcast were bare feet male podcasts was 6.5% of the search terms that landed people onto our page. So
We're going to hit 1,000 because of that.
Now everyone removes their
just wanted to let you guys
Remove your
know
shoes.
that we're here to make money. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, fun fact.
Yeah, we're
So-
trying to raise some dough for the show.
To just get back into that really quickly, it's actually kind of a funny story, and it points out one thing about the fire service. I don't make plans after my shifts. I typically don't because of the predictability of the unpredictability.
Yep.
So, and that's just how it went this morning. The cards were stacked against me. The guys tried to get there on time. One of the guys lives in town. His truck got a flat, I guess, like not just a flat, but it was a blowout. So one of the other guys went,
Rolled
you know,
into a
in service
ravine.
to go, rolled into a ravine. He went to go pick him up, and while he was picking him up, they got that
An asteroid came.
They got that 650 call for some bull crap MV. Anyhow, they got there as quick as they could. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, so I got a couple of questions. If you've watched our podcast before, we always like to end it with a question of the day. Today we're going to have 5 questions of the day. And kind of the goal is just like we talk about these subjects, and like you said, we want to talk about some stuff that's not necessarily related to the fire service. So question number 1, who has the better mustache?
Put it up.
John or Firefighter Fenton? Who's got the better mustache? Better mustache. So
John.
if you think John over here, John Morrissey, has a better mustache, raise your hand. Raise your hand. No. Oh my. All right.
Yes, that guy.
You got a
Thank
pity
you.
vote.
No.
Congratulations.
That's
No.
not a pity
All right.
vote.
If you think Firefighter Fenton has the better mustache, raise your hand.
Ah,
over
God.
here. Over
Unreal.
here. All right.
Unreal.
You guys have been dedicated. There's a bag of coffee. Hopefully it doesn't bust.
Now the big question is do you think Firefighter Fenton's mustache is real?
Oh.
That's the real question.
If you think his mustache is real, raise your hand.
Go home.
Actually-
Ryan. You know what? Here, just for believing in fake
Yeah.
stuff. Here you go.
There we go.
Oh,
There we
you
go.
busted open.
So we were-
Jesus. Good job, kid.
Maybe we'll have him come up and get it.
I'll get you another one.
All right, so we briefly hit on this topic, and you told us your max lifts for your clean and jerk and your snatch. But can anybody guess? I'm gonna break it down in 50s. If you think Jason's maximum deadlift was 500 pounds or less, raise your hand. Wow. People got faith in you.
It's a lot of confidence.
If you think it was 550 pounds or less, raise your hand. I got one for 550 or less. All
Not
right.
a believer.
If you think it was 600 pounds or less, raise your hand.
Raise your
All
hands.
right, I see
Raise your
a
hands.
few
Yeah,
hands.
good job.
Raise,
Great. Yeah,
raise your
very
hands.
nice.
Raise your hands.
Yeah.
All right, so
It was actually, what was it, 1,020 pounds was
1,000. You guys
No,
are all wrong.
that's a lie.
Nobody gets some coffee.
585.
Hey, John, you want to give this guy in the black T-shirt? He's been answering some questions over
Look
there.
at
a bag
that
of
guy.
coffee.
Look at that. He looks good with a bat.
Don't hit the
Who else had
camera.
their hand up for the 600 or less over here?
Oh,
Right here, this kid right here. You want a T-shirt, bud?
You want to? I was gonna give him coffee.
Yeah.
There you
Don't
go,
get
bud.
him going on coffee.
Don't get him addicted.
Yeah.
Hey, if that, we only have, we don't know what size we have up here, so if that doesn't fit, after this you can find us in the back and we'll exchange it for a smaller
The
one.
answer is that doesn't fit. It's
What's that?
twi-
You want a T-shirt? There you go,
Look at
buddy.
that. Nice.
All right.
There we go.
So if you've watched our podcast, you know that we like to pick on certain people here that don't know how to cook meat properly. So who amongst the JobTlks crew
John.
is most likely to order overcooked hamburgers and steaks? If you think it's me, raise your hand and then leave.
We know he
because
knows
it's not
his-
me.
he knows his
'Cause
food.
I know
We
I know
already
my
know
food.
that, yeah.
If you
Definitely, John.
if you think it is what's up, man? How you doing? If you think it is John over here, raise your hand.
We're
No,
gonna buy
you think with a mustache like
you
that,
guys-
this guy eats medium
yeah.
well meat?
Questionable at
If you think it's Barry that eats overcooked meat,
Yeah.
raise your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Do you really? You like it well done?
I
one
trusted
of you
you.
guys in the booth over there that's been serving us drinks all day, come get a bag of coffee.
Yeah.
Any one of you guys over there,
Wait, do you eat well done?
come get a free bag of coffee.
No, there's this like
He's a
there's
liar.
a lot of common misconceptions here, Jason. My wife air fried steak
Yeah,
one
air-fried
time.
steak.
Ever since then, it's been downhill.
Air fried steak.
It's actually not bad.
I mean, can you cook it?
It was an act of desperation.
I just want you to
Oh,
know
yeah.
that in the live chat, it's just like Barry, Barry, Barry,
Yeah.
Barry.
Oh, coffee,
Barry.
coffee,
Yeah.
coffee.
This
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. There you go.
This is ridiculous.
Chocolate. There you go. God,
right.
she was so mad about that.
I
Why was she
actually-
so
that-
angry? Where's
that
my
guy that
coffee?
just-
I
The guy
actually,
that just came up and shook my hand here is a cop,
Yeah.
and we have one question. Are there any police in the audience here in the crowd here?
Police officer.
Yeah, any cops?
we
All
have
right.
one. We have one.
So
Listen, this is his question, bro.
it's my question. Does anybody know what all cops have in common? That
Yeah,
they do
yes.
love donuts. All right, good answer. Any other answers?
Here it comes.
What's that? Nobody wants to be one. Also, another
Also.
accurate answer.
Took the wrong.
That's,
yeah, I'm gonna
that's,
give it. Yeah,
we're going to
that's
give it
close
to you.
enough.
The
That's
answer
close.
is a failed fire
Yes.
exam. All cops have a
Oh,
failed
God.
fire exam. Give this guy a bag of coffee over here. He got it.
Which you want dark roast?
You look like
Medium
a
roast?
dark roast
looks
guy.
like a dark roast guy.
Yeah.
So we got
Definitely a dark roast
salted
guy.
caramel one here too.
Skull crushing espresso.
Hey,
There we go.
police
Yeah.
officer, you tase him right now, bro. I'll give you all the rest of
Who's
the
our
coffee.
Who's our cop over here? Who's our cop that took that in stride? Give
There you
this
go,
guy
buddy.
a bag of coffee.
You want
want a
skull
bag of
crushing
coffee?
Come on, buddy,
It'll
come
go
on.
well with your donuts.
Yeah.
It'll go well with your donuts. Actually, we have donut infused, don't we? Or do we already give that one out?
There you go.
All right.
I like that my I'm reading the live chat here. I like that my crew dimed me out with the overcooked meat. Thank you, Paul Burke.
So I just want everybody to know that Barry's a liar when he says he doesn't overcook his meat.
Yeah.
Absolute
It's not
liar.
true. Medium rare. Medium rare.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So some of the teams here have had did a lot of fundraising and got to play with some of the some former pros in hockey. Actually, our fire department is playing with PJ Stock during the tournament. So, a completely non-firefighter public safety related question: does anybody know in 2 seasons with the Boston Bruins how many fights PJ Stock got in? How many? 37. Any other guesses?
He said that like he
39?
actually knows the answer. No, he. Yeah,
And I wear the T-shirt to tell you, hey, thank you for your service. Thank you. Let's give this guy a T-shirt.
There you
Give
go.
this guy a
Oh,
T-shirt.
he's already got a
no,
T-shirt.
no,
We gotta
don't
give
give
him
us a
coffee.
T-shirt.
We'll give you coffee.
You want a T-shirt? Give this guy a T-shirt.
Give that guy. Give
All right,
that
so
guy a
we have
T-shirt.
39. Anybody or 37? Anybody got a better guess than 37? 39. Anybody got a better guess than 39? 42. We're getting further away.
Minus 10.
Minus 10. Anybody know what
Just say-
42 minus 10
just say
is?
32. 32.
32. He's already got a T-shirt. He's already got a T-shirt.
Does he want-
Let's give it to this. Look, this guy
Say
wearing
32.
30. Did you say 32? Perfect.
Good, perfect.
Give her a
Nice.
T-shirt. Give her a T-shirt.
Right here, this little girl.
You can go if it doesn't fit. You can go get a smaller one from us in the booth over here when we're done.
I reject wholeheartedly the whole generational gap thing.
Okay.
If you're well, I mean,
No,
I'm not rejecting what you're saying.
No, I know you're not.
But
I,
a lot of people,
follow
I
you.
think, talk about this millennial thing,
Right.
or this Generation Z thing, right? Well, guess what? If you're failing to connect with these people, you're failing as a leader. You know, when you say a generational gap, a millennial thing, you're blaming, right? People are. I feel like that's blaming them. You know, look, they're not like us.
Right.
They don't know how to work equipment like we did.
Right.
All right, well, teach them.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Bring them in, build some trust,
Right.
make an effort to get to know them, and show them. Take these. I mean, look what this generation has done in the military in Iraq and Afghanistan. You know, they went out and they've been getting after it, and I respect them for it. They're capable. They just
Right.
need leaders to bring them together and show them the way.
Right.
And that's our responsibility. Like,
Right.
we need to do that. If there's a guy on the rig that doesn't know how to start a saw because he's never been shown, well, where are you? Teach him.
Right.
I'm saying you collectively, not like you
No,
specifically,
I
but
understand.
No, I think
know,
you, John. You're
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah,
you know,
seriously.
I mean, show them how to
Judging
drive
by
a
your
truck.
piece of crap.
I've seen guys come on the job. They've never really driven a large vehicle before.
Right.
All right. Well, got it.
Get in the seat.
Get in the seat. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's
Right.
let's train
Yeah.
you up.
Yeah.
You know, we had a couple things. One is people forget like the millennial generation is the generation that fought the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. That's the age. That's the age
100%.
group.
Yes. Yes.
To going what you said, like managers versus leaders. I know we've had that conversation. There's a very big difference
Oh,
in
absolutely.
someone who is a manager and someone who is a leader. And one of the things, like when you say about getting into the truck, like drive the truck, Barry and I both worked for a lieutenant, and one of the things he did that I thought was great was as we were approaching our mark where we were able to take the radio, which is, I don't know, different departments call it different things. So being an acting officer, being an acting lieutenant on the truck, is he actually had us ride. He rode in the back and had, you know, like one day I was driving and Barry was acting as a lieutenant. Another day Barry was driving, I was acting as a lieutenant, and he sat in the back and guided, but let us actually like get that experience and like put that experience on us. And the day I did it, we actually had a pretty eventful day.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, but that's a guy being a good leader right there.
Exactly.
He's trying to prepare you for what's coming your way.
And I think a lot of people that could be leaders or are in positions to be leaders don't bring up the people behind them because they are afraid of becoming irrelevant or being passed over on promotions, and instead, not necessarily hold people back, but don't prepare people. So those people that you find that actually will bring you up with them or even ahead of them or whatever the case is. Those are special people.
That's an imperative for us to train our people to take the next step up the chain if they need to. Who knows who's gonna be absent? Who knows who's gonna be out or injured or down?
Right.
The next guy in line needs to be able to step up and take charge at any moment.
Right.
At any moment.
And that's the key of like leadership development is your role as an effective leader is to build capable leaders that are
Right.
capable to replace it.
I guess the first thing to talk about is the shooter profiles. 99% of these are some important stats, and these are all stats that were generated from the FBI. It was a case study done, and all this information is relevant right up until 2018 from this particular PowerPoint that we have. And this is closer to when we did our actual training on it. But some important stats are 99% of the time we have one shooter. And contrary to what, you might hear on the news, 57% of the time it's a pistol. All right. So not everybody's breaking down the doors with assault rifles and things like that. I think actually most people probably have more access to pistols than anything else. And what I was going to point out in the beginning, and it's already in this first slide, 53% of the time it's a business setting, right? I think all of us in our own heads, we jump right to schools, right? Because it's
It's a worst case scenario.
the worst
you
case
know?
scenario.
I mean, they're all worst case scenarios.
It's
but
the softest target possible, right?
Right.
And we just saw that. So, 21% of the time it's in multiple locations, and then only 5% of the time the active shooters will have body armor. So
just to clarify, we're talking about active shooter, not necessarily mass shootings all the time, right? So not every active shooting event is a mass shooting event.
correct, yeah. So that's something good to point out. Although oftentimes so that is one way that sometimes the stats get padded.
Right.
So when you see on the news, there's been 300 active shooter events. Well, that could just be like
I think it's 3 or more people
For a mass shooting or something.
yeah.
And
for an
generally,
actual-
that's when we're getting involved, is when it's mass shooting as
Right.
the fire service. So that's
Right.
what we tend to talk about. But
Right.
just to point out that not every active shooter is a mass.
That's a very important thing to point out, because again, it pads stats when they say these mass shootings or
Right.
these active shooters, they kind of go hand in hand, but they're not exactly the same. And to the average listener who isn't dissecting it and dissecting the data, it's easy to kind of get it confused, and it can be a little bit misleading. So this is an important stat, and this is really important for us as on the fire service, because 65% of these events are over in 5 minutes, 85%
crazy.
over in 10, 90% over in 15. So that means that the event's typically over before we arrive, right? So that's something to consider, that obviously our police are going in, and their job is to immediately
aggress towards the threat.
aggress towards the
Right.
threat. That's it, exactly. Let's see. So where are we going?
We did not Asher training specifically, but ours now is it's Tech C, because it used to be TCCC stuff, but
Yeah.
now it's Tech C.
TECC.
Yeah, and the two priorities are stop the threat
Mhm.
and then stop the bleed. Basically,
Exactly.
right. And
And-
we're on the second half
Yeah.
of that, but a lot of times, as you're saying, that stop the threat is
Right.
happened whether by suicide from the gunman or police intervention or whatever the
Correct.
case is. Yeah.
And actually, so Barry, you actually have very specific training in this.
Yeah, I've spent a fair amount of time on this topic and training for this topic. So, TCCC instructor, TECC instructor, have done like the type of training that sounds that you participate in a fair amount. So there's a whole lot to dissect as far as like different roles for different agencies, what size agency you have. So the big thing, like there's been a big paradigm shift as far as like how we handle active shooters in the first responder community. The first big one was Columbine, where it kind of was treated more like a barricaded subject. We won't get into the stuff, the contemporary stuff, but the paradigm shift of like, in order to stop the bleed, no pun intended, to stop the bleeding and to stop the killing, you have to aggress towards the threat. And then that paradigm shift within the first responder community of what role exactly does the fire and emergency services play in that, Obviously, police's role and responsibility is to kill the individual that's killing people, or at least eliminate the threat. But how can we bridge that gap as far as the time period between that someone's either shot, stabbed, mortally wounded? It can be an active shooter, it can be an active stabber. What is an active situation? So how can we narrow that time period between the individual suffering that gunshot wound or stabbing and us providing critical interventions and removing them from that environment? So that has changed a lot. So there's lots of different makeups, right? So Cambridge, we have Rescue Task Force. We also have tactical paramedics that are part of the SWAT team, so they're right there. Versus Rescue Task Force, where you have a police officer that is essentially your escort. So individuals on ALS units or BLS units are moving towards the warm zone, right? They're not waiting outside. They're moving towards the warm zone with security with them to start removing patients as quickly as possible and expediting that process.
Yep.
I could go on for
So
hours.
the big takeaway, right, like you mentioned from Columbine, right, is we have to aggress the aggressor, right? We have to get in there right away and stop the threat. That's it. And so that single event changed tactics for
The entire country.
For the entire country.
Potentially the world.
Potentially the world, right, for active shooter. And so that's where a lot of this training was born, because before that, there really wasn't any training on it.
Well, it has really only been the last few years where it's gotten to the point where they're sending EMS and the fire service, or if that's a joint agency, both into these warm zones, into the buildings these shooters are in. And I think what came with all the data was that, the police are going in and aggressing and trying to eliminate the threat, but until that was eliminated, there was nobody taking care of these patients. Maybe other police are going in and pulling them out, but there was nobody in there caring for them. And so what they found is that there were a lot of deaths that were preventable, and preventable by something as simple as having a tourniquet available or whatever the case is. And that's kind of where the for us, like, it's not just us. I know Rescue Task Force is a common thing around here, but getting in the building, there might still be a shooting going on, and we're not going to where the shooting is actually taking place, but kind of following that trail, and whether it's actually pulling people out, or we have kits where we literally throw bags at people that have a tourniquet and gauze and different things to stop the bleed, because what's killing these people is hemorrhage.
Ultimately, it's the hemorrhage, right? Yeah.
So. And you can be, it doesn't, like, you're going to have an element of officers that's aggressing the threat, but I feel like a lot of the initial first line interventions for traumatic injury in the sense of like gunshot, stabbing, is not ALS interventions, it's BLS interventions, it's tourniquets, it's combat gauze, and it's chest seals. And that's what's had the biggest outcome as far as reducing morbidity and mortality. There's a couple other things that you can sprinkle in there that have a profound effect, but those are generally the baseline things that are stopping that massive hemorrhage.
Right. No, that's it. You're going in with minimal equipment, what we'd call like our stat kit, right? We have, we're going to be going in, if we just want, so like from here we can just talk kind of about the response, right? Because this is exactly where the conversation's leading. So law enforcement response, obviously they're going to have their contact team, their initial responding officers. They're going to go in, right?
Flood the zone.
The police are like, they're going to be on scene within a couple minutes of hearing this, right? And so
fastest responding.
They're going in. The idea is to go in just like we do, 2 in, 2 out, but they're not waiting for an additional officer while they hear gunshots in the background. Realistically, they're just not going to do that. The other thing is, an important thing to talk about is you're going to have people self-dispatch. There are going to be police from all over heading that way.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, multiple agencies.
They're just going to go.
And if it is a school, and it gets on the news relatively quickly because those guys all have scanners, you're also going to have parents and people that shouldn't be on the scene at all flooding the scene. So it can get pretty crazy and dynamic pretty quickly.
And we saw that recently.
Yeah,
we did. So
that's like natural human reaction to want to.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think you can break it down a lot of different ways. And when I think about active shooter, like I'm always concerned about it. I'm not as concerned about the outcome in a community like, there's no really good way to put this. I'm not as concerned about the outcome in a community like Cambridge that is so resource heavy and trained to a very high level, as far as like there's a lot of emphasis placed on Rescue Task Force.
Right.
Any active shooter scares me, right? But what really scares me is like a large scale active shooter event in a really small community with a really small police department and a really small fire department.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't, or potentially a volunteer fire department that
Right.
doesn't have the budget
Right.
to have, like in Cambridge, for example, we have ballistic helmets, body armor on every single piece of apparatus in the city,
Right.
along with those stat kits, right?
Yeah.
We have tactical paramedics. We
Right.
have a SWAT team. Like we have like we can flood the zone with
That's right.
resources.
You fell into one, right? Yeah.
I have the vision versus reality.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. In my head, it's me and Will, and I realize that conditions are rapidly deteriorating. And I
was like,
wrap,
"Fuck the garbage can."
and I wrap one end of my bailout kit. I'm like, "You go, I'll be right behind you," and then like lower him down, and
Yeah.
then fucking save myself. But in reality,
I literally bought a
fucking-
bailout kit
yeah.
just so Barry could never have
Yeah.
to save my life.
What I would do, right, is I'd be like, Will, hold this.
yeah,
See you later, sucker.
Yeah.
Wait, are you saying I'm big enough to be an immovable anchor?
We'll just wrap it
Son of a
around you and
bitch.
hook it on itself.